Hello and welcome to News Desk. My name is Kimini Nyamani. This morning we deal with Accra's acute shortage of water. We understand the Yajuja Dam has been shut down for repairs. Meanwhile, it is likely to worsen when the Pond Dam also shuts for some repairs from Monday. You share with us how you're coping and how you access water on a social media platform. Joynews on TV, on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll also follow up with the aftermath of the Yajuja demolition in Straha East and Tema, and why the Parliamentary Select Committee on Housing postponed its scheduled Tuesday visit to the area. Again this morning, Amnesty International and its partners want government to find a permanent solution to the perennial springing up of illegal settlements in the country. Exactly what this is, I'll be telling you in the course of the program. Share with me your thoughts on any of the issues we are discussing on Facebook and on Twitter. Facebook, Joynews on TV or Kimini Amano, or I tweet at Kimini or at Joynews on TV. Let's talk about water. Water is important to everybody, to you and I, and water supply shortage in Accra, unfortunately, will deepen as the Ghana Water Company treatment plant at Yajuja has been shut for major repair works on the facility. On Monday, the management of the Ghana Water Company Limited says it will shut down the Pond water treatment plant from February 24 to February 27. This, the company says, will allow contractors executing the Pond intake and Accra Tema Metropolitan Area Rural Rehabilitation and Expansion projects and undertake critical pipeline interconnections under the project due for completion in the next 3 months. The project will produce an additional 9 million gallons of water per day. We found an earlier story about this. Let's take a look at it and then we'll talk to the Ghana Water Company as to why they decided to wait, and tell us this now.
I'll talk to the guy. I will let him mention the price.
My colleague Dorcas Ankoma is in town in Kokomlemle. She joins us live from there. She's gauging the effect of the acute water shortage caused by the Ghana Water Company repairing some pipelines, some faulty pipelines. And she joins us live from Kokomlemle. Hello, Dorcas. Hello, Dorcas. Well, we'll put in efforts to get Dorcas back on, but Stanley Mate is communications manager for the Ghana Water Company Limited. He's joined us over the telephone. Hello, Stanley.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you. But Yajuja and Pond will go off at the same time. Is that what we should know?
No, there's no way that will happen. We can't shut down both treatment plants like that. So that will not happen. Currently, Pond is functioning effectively and producing at full capacity. But Yajuja is down. Yajuja is shut down because of the repair work on the N1 highway. And we are just about nearing completion of that job on the N1 highway. When that is done, we'll start production immediately, and then we'll hope that there'll be much improvement in the system before Pond goes down on Monday. We are putting a lot of measures for...
We'll talk about the measures, Stanley. But let's understand exactly what's happening now. Currently, Kpong is running, but Weija is going off.
Weija is off. And it's been
Weija is off?
Yes.
For how long?
It's been off since yesterday, and we are nearing completion of the project, and so for production to start immediately. Barring any technical hitch at this last minute, production should start before midday. So we are hoping that by close of day, we should be able to charge the line so that some areas will get water. We are very hopeful that by morning tomorrow, all areas within the western part of Accra should have access to water.
Right. And so this Weija repair works that's going on, which areas will be affected, or which areas have been affected?
Yes, that is the western part of Accra. So it includes Malam, Bawe areas, Sakaman, Dansoman, Mampubi, Agegi, Kolegono, Kolebu itself, Abosokain area, Kaneshie, North Kaneshie, Abekala Pass, Kwashiman, and Udoko, and surrounding areas. We are hoping that this job could be completed anytime soon so that production can start immediately after. The
concern for many consumers is the fact that to be told that their water will be taken off for a couple or more days was late. And so they could not even store water if they wanted to. And if we know the importance of water, then we have missed something, haven't we?
No, for every shutdown we do, we have a minimum of 2 days prior to the shutdown, unless, of course, it happened unannounced or unceremoniously. So we kept people informed 2 days before we shut down. We shut down Weija so that we could have that improvement done. Now, this job that we are doing on the N1 highway is supposed to improve on the situation before Pong is shut down on Monday. Okay, it is a line that we are repairing so that we can push more water from the western part of Accra to the eastern part of Accra, specifically to our Ponglo Reservoir, for onward distribution within the eastern part of Accra. So that is why we've had this job done. So we had informed consumers 2 days prior to this project, and we are hoping. We have been working throughout the night until now, and we are hoping that soon we should have the job completed so that production from Weija will start immediately. Now, the situation should stabilize before Bong will be shut down on Monday, and that is what we are working at. And we'll make sure that the impact is not seriously felt on consumers.
Does it look like it would happen?
Sorry?
Does it look like we'll have effect soon before Kpong goes off 24th?
Yes, that is what I'm saying, that we are nearing completion of the project on N1 highway. So barring any technical misfortune, we should be able to complete that job before midday and start production immediately afterwards.
What happens if you're unable to?
That is what I'm saying, that barring any technical hitch, but looking at what we have now, the possibility of we completing in the next 1 or 2 hours is very high.
I think what I'm trying to find out from you is if we are not able to bar those technical hitches, and indeed we are not able to finish the repair works on the N1 to allow free flow of water from Weija, would we still find it necessary to shut down Kpong?
No, if the unfortunate is to happen for Weija not to come on board, there's no way we shut down Kpong on Monday, okay? Because we can't shut down both treatment plants entirely. These are the major treatment plants that serve Accra with water. So if, assuming, let's say a hypothetical situation, that Weija is unable to come on board by close of day today or by Monday, when we may have to shut down Kpong, we may have to postpone the job at Kpong so that we'll stabilize Weija and stabilize the system before Kpong goes down. There's no way, under no circumstance, will we shut down both treatment plants with the metropolis.
I see. Let's look at the measures you put in place for consumers who are serviced from the Weija Dam.
Yes, currently, we have our water tankers and some rented tankers as well, including that of National Security and the Bureau of National Investigations supporting us in serving critical institutions that provide essential services. So the hospitals are being served. Kolebu, for instance, has a really huge reservoir. There's still some water, but we are on standby to provide water immediately it goes beyond below a certain level. There are some polyclinics, and the Mapobi Polyclinic, for instance, is also under serious surveillance, so that water will be provided immediately they need one. Mapobi Polyclinic and all schools, including private schools, that actually need water as early as possible are under surveillance, so that we shall move in immediately to supply them. May I use this opportunity to also inform consumers, especially the institutions that provide essential services, that they should fall on the Ghana Water Company Limited. Immediately there is the need for water, and I will have that provided as early as practicable.
Pong, on the other hand, feeds Accra East with water. What exactly is wrong with Pong that we have to shut it down for 3 days?
It's for some time now we have been talking about a lot of projects that we are embarking on to improve on the water system within Accra. We want to make rationing a thing of the past. We want water to flow within everybody's home 24/7. So as part of those projects, one of them is nearing completion. That is the Pong intake rehabilitation. Now, because it's nearing completion, we need to connect the new raw pipeline to the existing raw pipeline. Now, if you look at the size of the raw water line, okay, and the volumes of water that goes through it, and then the pressure at which the water flows, there's no way we can have water flow and also have this line interconnected to the existing line. So we have had to shut down the plant. We have had to shut down the plant entirely so that we can have the connection done and done effectively. And then immediately after, we'll start production again. And this should mean that there should be some improvement in the system, because production will increase from the current level to a higher level. That project itself will be finally completed in 3 months. So we are hopeful that this should be done. Thank you.
I see, Stanley. Does it also mean that more homes will now be added to the distribution line?
Exactly so. And by the end of the year, we're expecting more projects to be completed. For instance, the China Distributor project, which is also being undertaken at the Pond Treatment Plant, will also be completed by the end of this year, 2014. And that should bring us additional 40 million gallons of water. And in fact, we will be getting close to 90 million gallons of water from the Pond Treatment Plant. And when that is added to the Yajuja Treatment Plant, that produces over 55 million gallons of water daily, then it means that we will be bridging the gap between demand and supply within the Accra metropolis. Now, there's another project also ongoing at Teshiningwa, that's the desalination plant. That plant should provide some 6 million gallons of water daily. When that one also comes on board, the possibility of rationing being a thing of the past within the Greater Accra metropolitan area is very high, if not nil.
So Stanley, for the people who are fed from Pong, if there are going to be 90 million more gallons of water, how does it translate into homes? I think that's what a lot more people will understand.
Okay, we have our existing pipeline from Pong that travels along the Tema Michel Camp Pong route. Okay. Now, when this new project is completed, the pipeline from Pong will flow through a reservoir around Boy, between Boy and Dodowa. There's a huge reservoir that we have built at Boy. It's about the size of a football field. So from Pong, water will flow into that reservoir in Boy. Then it will continue through Fafaha, through Adenta, Medina, into our Ponglo reservoir. You also realize that our people or your listeners or viewership who commute along the Perfect Accra Road, you all will realize that there's a new reservoir also being built at the Pesek UPS junction. That one is also another reservoir where water will be pumped into, and then it will terminate from that area into more areas within the catchment area that we are talking about. That is within the northeastern part of Accra, including Medina, Adenta, Agboba, Domain areas. All those areas will be served, including East Legon and all that. So it means that there will be massive improvement in the system. And currently, access to water in Accra is around 68%. We are hoping that when this is completed, access to water in Accra should go beyond 95%, which means that the 5% or so who will not be having access to water will not be having access to water because they do not have distribution lines within their communities. So we are urging everybody within that enclave that it's better now to start putting yourself together to liaise with our district office in Medina so that distribution lines and distribution services will be done before December when the project is completed. But there'll be a lot of water, which I think may be too much for us to contain within that area.
All right.
So we need to work towards that.
So for Accra East, what are the measures from February 24 to February 27 when the water finally goes off?
Currently, this current project that we are undertaking on the N1 highway is part of the measures because it will enable us pump more water from the western part of Accra to the eastern part of Accra in our Congo reservoir for onward distribution within the eastern part of Accra. So this is one of the measures. Now the other one is the rental of private water tankers, and then the Bureau of National Investigation and National Security water tankers, have also been also on board, including the Ghana Water Company Limited fleet of tankers. Okay, so we have enough tankers to provide water to people within that catchment area. But the thing is, if we are using tankers, we still will be unable to supply every household. It is not feasible, actually, for us to supply every household. So we will be supplying water to institutions that provide critical services. And that is why we are urging everybody to start storing water now. Now, when we are done with these institutions, then we can move into communities with the tankers and have individuals access to some water by the tankers. But it is not actually feasible for every member of the population within that enclave to have access to a water tanker.
For those who would want to wait on your water tanker, how would they get the water?
Sorry?
Still for those who may want to wait for your water tanker because they probably don't have any other source, how would they get the water?
No, you only will have to go to our district offices and do the request. When the request is done, it will lead to the appropriate quarters and you'll be served. But apart from that, all the institutions that I've talked about are under surveillance, so that it will be easier for us to serve them even without their notice. Because
I see.
They're all under surveillance.
So as a household, it looks like the institutions are sorted. So let's talk about the households. As a household, I can go to a district office and ask that you bring me some water.
Okay. With the household, like I said initially, it is not feasible for us to be supplying water to every household within the eastern part. It is not feasible. So we wouldn't promise anybody that. But what we are saying is that from now till the time, you need to store some water because the lines are going to go up for only 3 days. So if
only 3 days when it comes to water, it ceases to be only. You agree, don't you?
But I'll still say that the period of the shutdown will be such that if you store enough water, you should be able to survive. And that is why we have given consumers enough notice so that they will be able to store water over the period. We are also in touch with the country so that the number of days that will be used for the interconnection will be reduced. It means that contractors are going to work on shift without any break till the job is done. So until the job is completed, the contractor will not leave the site. And we are hopeful that they should be able to finish ahead of schedule.
I see. And so this water that will be pumped from Accra West to Accra East, which communities would it serve?
It will serve, it's supposed to serve all the areas within Accra East. Unfortunately, it is also not possible because Bong is not coming aboard. Okay, so some institutions or some areas within some areas that are served by the Bongo Reservoir will have access to water. For instance, Legon campus will have water, and then 37 hospital will have water. If 37 military hospital will have water, it means areas between Bongo and 37 military hospital will also have access to water. Now, some areas in Laboni, I'm choosing my words very carefully. Some areas within Laboni and Cantonment will also have access to water because of the supply chain, the supply network from Okonglo to our reservoir at Malpo and then onwards to the Flagstaff House area, Kanda into Laboni, Cantonment, and all that.
I see. Stanley, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to explain things to your viewership.
Absolutely. Stanley Mate is Communications Manager for the Ghana Water Company Limited. But let's go on to the ground now. Dr. Sankoma, who is my colleague here at Joynews, is ready to bring us up to speed as to how the situation is. Hello, Dorcas. Hello, Dorcas. If you can hear me, what have you observed so far?
Hello, Femini.
Yeah, I'm asking what you have observed so far.
I'm at Kokomlemle, 2 junctions from the traffic light. That is 2 junctions from our office, Multi-CD. And I'm in front of a shop bar called Auntie Mary's Corner. Apparently, this is the only place most people can get water today. And there is a lot of people here. The attendant tells me that people started trooping in as early as 3 a.m. to get water because they can't get water anywhere else. And I just spoke to a lady who stays around Fiennes, that's the Vodafone office. And she has moved all the way from her house to this place to get water for the day.
Are they getting this water for free, or they are having to buy the water?
Hello?
I'm asking if they are getting the water for free or they are having to buy it.
They are buying it. If you have a gallon, the yellow gallon, it goes for 50%. And the buckets are going for 30%. They have big bowls here which are going for 1 cedi and over as well.
I see.
This water they are fetching here is a borehole. It was drilled and it has been connected to electricity. So far as there is electricity, they can get water, but immediately the light goes off, the water will also stop flowing. That's what that tells me.
So this is groundwater people are buying?
Yes.
I see. And what would they use the water for? Most of those patronizing the groundwater.
For their household stores, washing, bathing. Some say they are going to boil the water so that they can use it for cooking as well.
I see. Thank you very much, Dorcas. Dorcas Ankoma joined us from Kokumlimle, where she says a number of persons have lined up just to get some water. They have been in the long queues for several hours to get some water. The water shortage situation in Accra West is as a result of some repair works on the Yajuja Dam. Meanwhile, if you're in Accra East and you're served water from the Pond Dam, you should expect your water to stop flowing through your taps from February 24, next Monday, to February 27. And well, the water company says we'll put in measures to make sure that you have water at your home, but it's advising that indeed you store yourself some water as well for the 3 days that they will be completing works on the Pong water treatment plant. If you are in an area within Accra West and you don't have water, share with us how you're coping. How are you getting water? Are you getting water from the Ghana Water Company Limited, or perhaps you are also patronizing groundwater like the people 2 junctions away from here? And I'll be so glad to share your thoughts with the rest of us in the News Desk community. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Thank you very much for staying on News Desk. If you just tuned in, we've dealt with an acute water shortage in parts of Accra. Accra West is already experiencing its fair share of it. From Monday, February 24 to February 27, Thursday, Accra East will also face its share of the water shortage that's hit Accra. And the water company has been explaining to us the measures is put in place to make sure that you have some water in your home. Paramount of that is that you should store water for yourself, because they can't feed all of us water, though they are taking your water away. Meanwhile, Amnesty International and its partners want government to find a permanent solution to the perennial springing up of illegal settlements in Ghana. The situation, according to officials, has resulted in several confrontations with security agencies, especially when such illegal settlements have to be demolished. They describe forced eviction as a matter of human rights that must be frowned upon.
Amnesty International describes forced eviction as a matter of human rights abuse that must be frowned upon. It remains questionable why authorities allow illegal settlements to spring up before they move in to demolish the structures. But according to Deputy Minister of Water Resources, Works and Housing, Samson Ahi, stopping encroachers from settling on an empty plot of land is not an easy task.
When the authorities made an attempt to evict them from the land, some of the encroachers take legal action against the rightful owners, and most often than not, they're able to secure injunction on the rightful owners. If you want to move around, you will see people after construction up to the roof, the window level, they will write themselves, stop work, produce permits, just to take away the mind of the authorities to take action.
He called on Ghanaians to be patient as the Parliamentary Select Committee, tasked by the Speaker of Parliament, looks into the merits and demerits of the various demolition exercises carried out in the last 2 months.
Because of the nature of our system now, you will get people who can produce documents as if the land belongs to them. And so that is why I think that we should allow the Speaker's committee to finish this. So many things will come out. All of us will understand how can people secure those permits, documents to cover the land. And to them, they have then acquired it legally, only to be told that, no, it is wrongly acquired. And this is a pity.
Meanwhile, Director of Amnesty International Ghana, Lawrence Amesu, says the use of forced eviction, no matter how illegal a settlement is, infringes on the human rights of such persons.
The international world is now watching us and putting records down. It is important for us to improve upon our human rights records rather than retrogress. For me, what is happening, or what has happened at Yajuja, is something we should say we are retrogressing rather than moving forward. I think more like saying that it is a sadist behavior, even more than a human rights abuse, because some of the things which happen cannot be explained.
Other stakeholders at the meeting also expressed some concern about the actions of society when such demolitions are being undertaken, and called on Ghanaians to allow the security agencies do their work. Ghanaians were also advised to do all necessary checks when acquiring a land and stop depending on middlemen.
I'm glad you're still on News Desk, and we'll continue with this conversation around Amnesty International's assessment of government's solutions for illegal settlements here in the country. Lawrence Amesu is Amnesty International Ghana Country Director. He's here with me in the studio. Thank you very much, Lawrence, for joining us.
Thank you very much, ma'am. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you too?
I'm doing well.
I see. Let's talk about government's role in solving this problem. Amnesty International's assessment of it.
Thank you very much. Government is responsible for ensuring that the rights of individuals in a country are protected and then promoted. Let me say that when we get into the civil and political rights, Ghana seems to be doing very well. When we come to economic, social, and cultural rights, we are lagging behind a lot. And for this reason, Amnesty International have isolated housing rights, but particularly because of the multi-complex problems related to the housing rights. And we have been campaigning and advocating together with our partners in this country for us to look at the issues, particularly with regard to forced eviction. And this is a complex issue because it also runs around poverty, where people are looking for income and they are running away from the rural areas into the urban areas. When they come, we realize that our planning process is also one of the issues, where areas where government has demarcated for future development are not well protected by the city authorities themselves, and so people go to settle. Yesterday we were at a consultative meeting for us to discuss these complex issues, for us to see the way forward. And somebody was saying that, in fact, Valco has a plot of land somewhere around Tema, and they have clearly shown that that place is a no-go zone. And for several years, that place had laid fallow. This is what we're saying. So how come that other authorities, other institutions cannot demarcate the lands that are for future development and protect it in a way that people will not settle haphazardly? Let me say again that government is not the only role player, but we think that government has to take the lead, and the city authorities, city planners have to plan well and protect the land or areas where there are plans for future development, so people do not go to settle. We all know in this country how we acquire land and how it's very difficult for people to be able to build, and to build for several years and for one day to see all those buildings crashing. I'm saying this at the backdrop that we already are in deficit. But, as a country, we are in deficit of 1,500,000 housing.
Right.
Yes.
Lawrence, those who lose their homes are not to demolition, are not slum dwellers. There are people who actually bought the land, paid for it, sometimes have documents for it, but are still losing their homes because someone says that the land is for them.
That is a very good issue we have to discuss, because people of Yajuja have shown that they have documents. Yesterday, when we had a lot of discussion on this issue, some people were saying that yes, we need to stop a little or stop 3 times and ask ourselves whether the land we are buying, the documents that we are getting, are the right documents, because there are a lot of people who are in the system and then taking advantage of people's inability to know the process through which they should go, and then they are taking advantage of them and are giving documents which may not necessarily be the appropriate documents. So it needs a lot of education also.
But, Lawrence, aren't the slum dwellers, perhaps those who live at Sodom and Gomorrah, perhaps those who live at Fadama?
Yes.
Those are the places where we have the slums.
Well, as for the slum, when we talk about slum in Ghana now, we'll be talking about several places. Even Nima, all those places are slums.
I mean, what I mentioned were just examples.
These are typical Sodom and Gomorrah or Ofadama. It's a typical informal settlements that we talk about, because those areas are areas that government has demarcated for future development, and people settle perhaps because they are unable to rent houses, and they settle in those places. Those are informal settlements that we're talking about.
So if we are still faced with this problem, why would Amnesty International decide to scale down on its role, advocacy role for slum dwellers in the country?
I said earlier on that economic, social, and cultural rights are very important for us now, and Amnesty International and all human rights activists should go into this and continue to campaign and advocate. As you are aware, Amnesty International is a global movement, so we do a general assessment of the world and say, okay, these are the countries where we should go with this kind of advocacy and this campaign. Looking at countries like Kenya, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, comparing it to Ghana, Ghana does have problems, but if you compare it to other countries like Ghana, like Nigeria, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Ghana is better off. So maybe we'll be moving our more resources globally to such countries like Kenya, Nigeria, and Zimbabwe and Chad. That doesn't mean that we'll stop totally in Ghana, but we will want to continue to work with our partners. And we are encouraging our partners to take up the mantle because Amnesty International seems to be the one that are taking the mantle and our partners were supporting. For now, we have built their capacity for some time. The past 2 days, we have been doing more strengthening of their capacity to be able to take the front page on this campaign and advocacy. So we will continue to support from behind. It doesn't mean that we'll stop entirely. I
see. You asked government to find a permanent solution to the perennial springing up of these settlements. Can we ever find a permanent solution to this, and how?
Well, we may not be able to eliminate this kind of settlements, but there are laid down procedures for us to follow when we have problems on our hand, when government or city authorities decide to do development work where people are settled. There are procedures to follow. And for Amnesty International, that's what we have been calling on, that government should be, or city authorities should be able to follow those procedures, which includes genuine consultation with the people, which includes adequate information for people to prepare, which includes planning for compensation or resettlement. And if all these fail, there should be a room for redress for people to be able to seek redress. So I'm saying that we may not be able to eliminate settlements like this, but we can do a lot. We can do a lot of education, and we are calling on the media to join civil society to do education for people to know where they are going to settle and the implications. But we also want to encourage government and state institutions to ensure that they guard against people moving into where there are plans for future development. It can be done. It is not that we can't do it. It's worrying when we wait for people to put up structures and live in it for several years, and then one day what worries me, for example, is where was TDC, for example, when people started the foundation, when they got to lintel level, when they were roofing? Why were we not able to go in and say, stop, this place you cannot build? And then we allow people to live, and some people said they were living there for more than 8 years now. Where was TDC? Those are the issues. Perhaps TDC has some information to give us, because we cannot blame them also, because they also have some reasons.
Right.
But we are happy that Parliament is taking this issue seriously.
I see.
And will be investigating it.
And you have also said that forced eviction is a matter of human rights that must be frowned upon, which is, I mean, all the examples we're talking about are people who have been forcefully evicted
yes,
from their homes and their homes destroyed.
Yes.
From where Amnesty International sits, what should be done for these people? Some of them have invested all of their lives into the structures that were pulled down.
Honestly, yesterday at the consultative meeting, in fact, that was the reason why we brought the stakeholders together yesterday. One of the recommendations that came out was that it would be good for TDC to allocate some of the buildings that they are putting up now to those victims. Indeed, I would say that if TDC or government decide not to pay attention at all, it will be important for the victims to go to court. As of now, Ghana has not ratified the optional protocol on the Convention on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. So the victims cannot go international. They cannot go to the international committee to seek redress. We can only seek redress in the country, and one way is going to the court. But I think we should not go that way. After the investigation, we should be able to list all the victims and then say that these people should be given some compensation in terms of money for them to rebuild, or TDC should allocate some houses to these victims. Because, as I said earlier, Ghana is already in deficit of about 1,500,000 housings. And if people build and we take one day to crash all this, it is really worrying. So some form of compensation have to be given to the victims, no matter what the situation is.
I see. Would it include giving them a place to sleep now? Well, because they'll be expecting somewhere to have somewhere to put their heads.
Yes, in fact, I know that even tent was provided for them, but
we understand have been pulled down as well.
Soldiers, I don't know, whoever that was, soldiers or some people went and pulled it down. Indeed, we should give this issue to the National Disaster Company or
management organization
for them to help in the meantime where people should settle. Of course, we are also Ghanaians, and we know that people will move to live with their brothers and sisters for the meantime, but government needs to come in to assist immediately in the short term while we talk about the mid-term and then the long-term solution to this problem.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. I'm totally grateful you passed through News Desk today. Lawrence Amesu is Country Director for Amnesty International. We've been talking slum dwelling and how to deal with those illegal settlements. When I return from the break, we'll look at the aftermath of the Yajuja demolition in Shraha East in Tema and why the Parliamentary Select Committee on Housing postponed its scheduled Tuesday visit to the area. Don't go away. Thank you very much for staying on. But 2 people sustained serious injuries in a free-for-all fight between desperate residents of Yajuja in Tema and armed police and military personnel Tuesday. The military fired warning shots to disperse angry residents fighting to protect debris of their flattened houses left in the wake of a demolition exercise 3 weeks ago. The security had gone to supervise the removal of debris of illegal houses built on a disputed land said to be owned by the Tema Development Corporation. But the residents who are already wailing over the demolition of their houses and were keeping up in tents mounted on the disputed land attempted to protect some of the belongings kept in the tent.
We gathered here, then before we could see the army and the police were here with their bulldozers, pulling all the trees that we used to sit or sleep under it. Then we say, why? We are waiting for a visitor. Why are you people doing this? They too, they did not understand. We also don't have that patience. And then it rises into different issues, whereby they started beating our men and then firing. This is the bullet that was given to me as a rep of the chief. A live bullet. Can someone testify that this is a rubber bullet? We are here not until the court decided that we are squatters. Up to now, John Mama was unable to talk. Why? He's beside the scene. He's behind the scene. He should speak. I am challenging him that if he doesn't have a hand in it, he should speak. I do not understand how Parliamentary Select Committee coming to meet people who are anxious to meet them after 3 or 4 weeks of being displaced. Then the National Security Officer will call and say the place is safe. It's not safe. How was it not safe? Then what about those of us who have no guns? If it is not, it was not safe for the parliamentarians to be here, then it should dawn on them that it was very, 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 very unsafe for those who are here waiting to meet them. And I was highly disappointed that the Select Committee did not show up. I do not think I have any more trust in whatever we may be calling on them for.
Right, and so that was Ajay Kojo after the incident happened. But Joseph Oboku Gakpo of Joynews was in the thick of the action. He's joined me here in the studio. Joseph, thank you very much for joining me here. You were there when the action actually took place.
Exactly. You know, the security persons had gone back there yesterday to clear the debris following the demolition that was last month. And the idea was that all the brick that had been broken up, they'll crush them into powder and then, you know, excavate them into trucks and cut them from the area. In the process of doing that, you know, there are some of the residents who still live within the debris. So some of the NADMO tents are mounted within the debris. Some of them have built wooden makeshift structures within the debris where they are living. So in some of the tents, they have their food items, they have their clothing, their mattresses and all of that. At a point in time, one of the excavators was approaching a particular tent, you know, to clear the debris from the area. The residents said they had some items in the tents that they needed to get out. The security persons were insisting that they had all this while to clear that they didn't. So now that they are approaching that area, they won't allow them to get into the tents. Some of them managed to get there, get into the tents. The security persons tried stopping them, and that's what resulted in the free-for-all fight. Some of the residents, you know, the youth, I mean, threw blows at the security persons. The security persons responded in equal measure. At a point in time, they began using the butts of their guns to hit some of the youth who had, you know, tried to stop them.
And look at that bullet. You would think that the security personnel will use rubber bullets in instances like this.
That's the complaint that the residents have, that in such a situation, they didn't expect the security persons to have fired live bullets. You know, they started firing warning shots at a point in time, because what happened is the residents at a certain stage began throwing stones at them, and they responded with the firing of warning shots. It's not as if they shot any of them, but those who got injured were injured as a result of being hit with the butt of guns and also being hit with sticks, you know, in the ensuing confrontation. 2 persons were arrested by the security persons. One of them was arrested because he was engaged in a physical fight with the security persons, and the other was arrested because he was trying to take shots of the exercise. And from what we understand, they are now with the Ashaiman police. We don't know yet what they would want to do with them.
And there are children in those makeshift structures as well. Children live there.
Exactly. You know, some of them are unable to go to school as a result of what has been happening there over the last 1 month. They cry that the relief that has gotten to them are inadequate. Something which happened yesterday, for example, was that NADMO had brought in relief, but as a result of the confrontation and all of that, they were unable to distribute the relief items to them. And when you get there, these children are walking about and they are unable to go to school, and it's a very pitiful situation when you get to the Shaha East area.
I can't imagine how they dealt with all the chaos and the gunshots. But we're also joined by Matilda. Matilda visited the area this morning, and she's here with me in the studio. Matilda, what did you find this morning?
Well, like Joseph rightly said, I got there this morning only to realize that still the people were still living outside in the open just like that, and then realized that they were just moving about, not knowing what to do or where to go, because for them now the whole thing looks like they are fighting
How do they feel about living there after what happened Tuesday?
For what they keep telling me is that until the court decides, they are not ready to move out of the place. they are ready to die for their lands.
Joseph, you have the same impression? They are not afraid for their lives?
You see, a lot of them have left. When the demolition happened initially, there were about 800 persons who were displaced. From what I'm told by the leaders of the residents there, those who are still within the enclave are about 150 persons. And these persons say they have nowhere to go. The others who have family members living around, have gone to live with their family members. But for these persons, they're insisting that if they are moved from there, they have nowhere to go. And so if they are to be moved, then there should be a clear plan as to where they are moving to. Someone should be ready to provide some new accommodation structures for them. And unless that is done, then they don't have a choice than to live around there. And when the security persons come around, then there could be some of these confrontations. Yesterday, for example, because of what happened, the clearing of the debris, that exercise was put on hold just soon after the confrontation and the firing of the shots. But the residents say they still live in fear because the thinking is any moment from now, the security persons could return.
But they had hope that the Parliamentary Select Committee would come to their rescue. Let's put it that way. What happened?
The information they gathered was that a message was sent to the Parliamentary Select Committee that the place is not safe for the parliamentarians to be at the scene. So they were like worried as this, you are supposed to come in our aid and then speak for us, and then all of a sudden you come out with the excuse that the place is not safe. How about we, those living under this condition for so many weeks? We have been in it, and why then do you bring this excuse that the place is not safe for you? What exactly are you trying to tell us? So for them, they have lost hope in the government to see, because no one seeks to be listening to them, and then this is really bad for them. Like, they are still in a state of fear. They don't know what might happen, but then they are still not ready to move because they do not have anywhere to go as we speak.
So the children in the community now?
Some of the kids, like children, most of them do not know exactly what is happening. When I tried engaging them, they tell me, oh, they can't go to school because their parents said, oh, school niho and things like that. They don't know what exactly is happening. They are just moving around, playing around, and then just doing their own thing. So
I see. So what now? Are we still expecting the Parliamentary Select Committee, and when?
Well, yesterday I spoke to Nana. He is in charge of media relations at the Parliament. He told me they would communicate to us on a later date as to when the Parliamentary Select Committee will move to the ground. So we are still waiting for them to give us a date, and then we join them, and then we go there. But for now, we'll be doing our own thing, moving up there to check up on the people.
Within living Parliament itself, there appears to be some confusion as to why exactly they didn't go yesterday. The MP, that Nato Shiado, makes the claim that it's because there was a call from National Security that the place is unsafe, and it's based on that which the MPs couldn't go there. On the other hand, the chairman of the committee, David Tetesumin, is attributing it to what he describes as technical difficulties, because they had received message from the speaker who set up the committee that they shouldn't go. He downplays the claim that it's because there was a call to them from National Security that the place is unsafe, and makes the point that they are working at the beck and call of the speaker. So if the speaker tells them, hold on to your visit until a later date, they don't have an option. And so it's not exactly about the security situation. So that's the confusion as to exactly why they couldn't go, and they are unable to give us specific timelines as to when next they intend going there.
And that's even worsens the plight if you live there, because the people you think were coming to your rescue now don't know when they'll be coming back. They don't even know why. There is no unison on why they didn't come.
And the residents are very angry. To the extent that the chairman of the Landlords Association, Francis Jivenu, has been telling us that they are giving the parliamentarians a 48-hour ultimatum. In the next 48 hours, commencing somewhere around midday yesterday, meaning that will expire tomorrow by midday. If they don't show up at the area to come look at things for themselves, they would march from Ejekojo all the way to Parliament with their documents and with their videos and pictures of the demolition exercise to come present to them. If they think it's Parliament's house which is safe for them, then they should be ready for a protest.
Matilda, I'm sure they told you the same thing this morning. But we also understand that they've been saying if the court rules that they should leave, they would go.
They would go.
Would they find somewhere to go then?
Well, they tell me the court, they are law-abiding citizens. They are not squatters as is being portrayed outside. They are law-abiding citizens, and if the court decides that, well, they have lost their case, they don't have an option. They will leave peacefully. But until then, the TDC and the national security should give them a space for the court to decide on their fate. So that is what
Thank you very much, you two. I've been speaking with my colleagues, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who is to my immediate left, and to my far left there is Matilda Wemega as well. Both of them my colleagues here at Joynews. We've been talking about the aftermath of the Yajuja demolition in Sraha East Tema. Unfortunately, it's time for me to go, and that means I can't read your messages on our social media platforms. I totally apologize for that, but I'm thankful all the same you sent them through. I'll see you again at midday on News Today. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of our broadcast. Immediately, it's Power Lunch from CNBC. Goodbye.